word. And now I will go back to sharing. All right, so I guess like let's do Hope Lab then, unless Iona, I see you're raising your hand. Are you from Impact Academy?
I'm sorry, I'm not from Impact Academy. I'm with Word Tabernacle Church, but Impact Academy is joining organization. And you asked who was with Impact or Hope, and I was like, well, I'm not with either, but I will join with Impact Academy.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, in that case, maybe is everyone agreed if we like take Hope as an example for the purposes of this session? Awesome. Okay. So the first thing to decide is like, first of all, maybe someone from the Hope team, if you could tell us about a priority population and then kind of like a journey that's of interest to you. And like I said, something quite specific, like, yeah, finding childcare, finding healthcare. I mean, the typical one is like getting pizza or deciding what to eat for dinner, like something quite specific for your priority population. So I'll turn it over to someone on the Hope team.
I guess I can go. So priority, you mean the people that we in the people that we interviewed or just in general?
If you interviewed your priority population, then yes. If not, then in general works too.
Okay.
I did. You interviewed some teachers and some admin.
Yeah, we did some admin and some teachers. So are you wanting to know who they are? I'm sorry, I'm not.
So I'm thinking about like the admin in general as your priority population, or teachers in general as your priority population. And you likely have multiple, right? So maybe teachers are one of the priority populations. And so what is like a journey for a teacher, a part of their day, a decision they have to make, anything like that you want to think would be helpful to map out?
Yeah, sure. So I guess we'll just do like a teacher. And I think maybe a journey or something they have to deal with on a daily basis is how do they interact with students who are showing maladaptive behaviors, you know? So just knowing a lot of times those behaviors are because of what has happened at home.
Okay, cool. So a teacher interacting with a student that's having a maladaptive behavior. So the bits of the journey that we'll be focused on are, first of all, the actions. And so customer, this is, like it often comes from the private sector. So we can say this, what does the teacher do? What part of the service? This often works when you have like a specific service, but you don't need to do this row. I might just literally delete this row. Ooh, that's not right. Nope. Okay, it's okay. We'll just skip that row. And then the next line is around what is the teacher thinking at that stage? How are they feeling? And then we can make this kind of like more about pain points and then the opportunity. So like, what are the stuff that's difficult at that stage? And then what's the stuff that's maybe going particularly well, or that they have ideas about that, how it could change. So the first thing is to think about like, okay, what literally in the sequence of things that happen. So the first thing that might happen is like they're in the classroom, maybe they're teaching, like when is this maladaptive behavior maybe coming up?
Yeah, it could be in the classroom or even in the hallway. I mean, I remember that being mentioned specifically.
All right.
Or has entered the building.
Right. I'm with the courthouse, but listening to y'all, but my daughter is a teacher and she vents every day about this one thing. And it happens when they walk in the building.
Yeah.
And when they get into the classroom, and then when she's teaching. So it's all during the course of a day that this happens with her.
So maybe the touch point in this case is like as students are walking into the building, between classes. And then like, I guess, what is the teacher doing at that stage? Like what, before the maladaptive behavior happens, you know, are they like on yard duty? Are they trying to get people to come into the class? Are they, you know, like taking attendance? I don't know. Like, what are they doing at this stage? And it could be multiple things.
I mean, a lot of times they're just at the door between class. If we're talking about between classes, usually at the door, just kind of making sure that people are headed where they need to be, saying hello.
Mm. Saying hello. Yep. Okay. I think that works. What is the teacher thinking at this stage? Are they like, because I can imagine this is just like pure conjecture, but being like almost like dreading it. Like, I know this is like going to happen at some point. When is it going to happen? Or are they like, you know, feeling very positive and like, oh, I'm so glad. And then suddenly something happens and then the mood changes.
Well,
I mean,
a
I
lot of
think,
times,
yeah, go ahead, Mr. Robinson.
I was saying a lot of times we as the teachers are positive and happy to see the students. But what, you know, sometimes it's just a simple good morning and it just,
Yeah.
I
So
know that with my daughter, she can be very positive,
yeah.
but when this happens, she talks about how frustrated she gets because dealing with this student has caused the rest of the students not to be able to do what they're doing.
yeah, so I'm like changing, just like anticipating for the next stage when something's actually happening. I've put in a post-it here that says like from the teacher's perspective, like all I said was good morning. Like I didn't realize that that would be like, that would make my life so much harder today. So I guess like before we move on to that stage, so like we'll say stage one is like pre-behavior almost. Oh, yeah. And so far what we've got is that like the teacher is maybe like at the door, they're between classes, they're making sure people are headed where they are, they're saying hello to people. The touch point is that they're like, as the students are walking into the building, it might be between classes. And then they're thinking like, I'm so happy to see everyone, good morning. You know, feeling motivated. Maybe they're feeling pretty good. This is just like an emoji, so we can put whatever emoji we want in there. I'll leave any like words that you want to put in here for like the emotion of how the teacher might be feeling at this point.
I guess you could put hopeful or optimistic.
Yeah, totally. All right. Are there any like pain points at this stage? Like anything that they're that might be kind of negative for the teacher? Maybe they're thinking about like stuff totally outside of school, you know, like stressful lesson planning or like that they had a difficult morning.
Yeah, I guess it just depends on the time of the year. I mean, it could be lesson planning, it could be the end of the year, it could be students that haven't done anything, EOCs. I mean,
Yeah.
personal family issues that they're dealing with.
Could be
Yes.
the principal, could be
The
Yeah.
temperature in the building.
You could not have any air conditioning and it's 102 degrees in your room.
Yeah, but I mean, like that's real.
No, it is real.
It's real.
Yeah, so like stress from interpersonal issues, maybe just like really heavy workload.
Yeah.
Anything to like, any like opportunities, things that are going well right now, in terms of like this stage of like managing that time before a behavior even happens.
Yeah, I think, I mean, for the most part, you know, the majority of the time you don't have teachers don't have negative interactions, so it's when you have those in between times, especially this teacher that I was talking to, or teachers in general, that time is really positive because you are making connections with students and you are greeting them and you are building and continuing to build that rapport and deepen those connections. So that's the overwhelming experience, I think.
Yeah, I think that totally makes sense. Are there like ways that teachers are doing that work particularly well?
I think just from the teachers that I know that make it a point to do that, know what the students are interested in, and they ask them about those things, so they try to find things that the students really like and get their input on things, or just ask about their family, how their family's doing, ask them about things that are important to them.
Totally. Any ideas that your interviewees or someone came up with that might make this stage better?
Trying to,
Well-
I haven't.
Well, I'm sorry. A lot of our interviewees would say, when you build a rapport with the students, it kind of helps with those negative vibes. If the student really knows you and they feel comfortable or whatever, it kind of changes things.
Yeah, totally. Awesome. So it sounds like we've got that first pre-behavior stage is done. Now let's move on to like, all right, there's been an incident, or is there like some, I guess, I don't know if there's been an incident or is there some sort of buildup? Like, how does that usually work?
Well, just one thing that sticks out in particular, the teacher that I interviewed, said you might have a situation where there's a kid that you have a really good rapport with and they walk by one day and you just put their hand on their shoulder and they're like, don't touch me, or something like that. And that's a reaction to whatever it is that they're bringing into the building with them. It could just be saying hello and they don't respond to you, or asking them a question and they just ignore you and don't respond to you.
Yeah. Yeah, so maybe it's like, all I said was good morning. That hasn't been an issue in the past. What's wrong? Is it something I did? Yeah, so it's just like maybe the stage 2 is like, the action is teacher does something just like totally normal. Does what they would normally do, say hi, pat shoulder, etc., and gets like a very negative response back. So that's what they do. When they get that negative response, then what happens? Or like, how do they feel?
With the student, the teacher.
Yeah.
We're doing the teacher journey at the moment, so the teacher.
Do you want to go, Mr. Robinson?
Oh, well, with the teacher, it kind of, if you're a concerned teacher, it kind of hurts your feelings. I mean,
Yeah, totally. So I'll put that here. Hurt feelings. And then like, yeah, I guess the touch point is pretty much the same. So they do what they would normally do. They say hi, they pat them on the shoulder. I guess like, are there pain points or opportunities at this stage in particular?
And when you say pain, can you just clarify a little bit?
Yeah, so a pain point is just something negative at that stage. I mean,
yeah, I think it depends on how it gets handled.
Yeah.
You have teachers who know their students and know how to work with that, who might just let it go, and then you have some that provoke people. and that can turn into a really bad situation.
So yeah, maybe the pain point at this stage is like,
It
like
could be the
think-
response, like,
yeah,
that's not like the teachers that I interviewed and administrators, that's not what they've done, but it happens.
so maybe they're saying like teachers, the opportunity is that teachers understand how to respond to de-escalate, like to not to escalate the situation.
Right.
But then the pain point is that like some teachers don't know how to respond, react based on their hurt feelings, or like react because of their hurt feelings.
Yeah.
Some teachers take it personal.
Yeah.
Ah.
They take it personally, and like pride.
Yeah. I'll zoom in on this so we can all see it. But yeah, like some don't know how to respond, they take it personally, but then some do know how to respond and they know not to escalate the situation. Are there like opportunities in terms of like how they know to do that? Like in ways that happens more often than not?
I think a lot of it is just you learn from experience, honestly. I mean, you can go to workshops and things like that, but I think really like learning from experience is well-informed experience, I think, is how most people learn to deal with that stuff.
Yeah, it's almost like they've like developed the muscle at this point, that it's like now those feelings come, but they don't react.
Right.
All right, that totally makes sense. I guess like from in terms of like dealing with interacting with students having maladaptive behaviors, maybe the next stage is like some sort of like intervention, if at all. Is there an intervention that the teacher does at this stage?
I think it depends on the student. I mean, I think it's very situational. You know, that's where it comes down to, again, like you have to know your students, and it depends on the severity of their, whatever the behavior is, you know, obviously. If it's just a kid that is usually chatty and nice and they come in one day and they're like, don't talk to me or whatever, you know, and you have a good rapport with that student, maybe just sound like, hey, like, just want to let you know, like, I still care about you. Like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm here for you. Like, you need to talk to me. That's all right. Sometimes it might be just giving them space for the whole day. Continue to do your job, be polite. Don't let your attitude change, and then come back the next day and start over. But I really think it's completely situational, depending on the student.
So I guess like when we think about, the journey of the teacher, it's like at that point, they're making that judgment call of like how to respond.
Yeah. I did have the teacher that I interviewed say that she a lot of times will think, okay, this kid has done this, but I know this is going on, this is going on, this is going on. So they'll think about the situation in the context of what stressors that student is having to deal with, you know. So it's like she reminded herself of everything the kid is going through.
So maybe like it's not even like intervention at this stage, it's like understanding.
Yeah.
And like the things that they're doing, or the action is like reminding themselves of what's going on like in the background.
Yeah.
And like the green, like the positive thought is like, actually, it's not me, you know. It's not me. There's a lot going on here.
As a middle school principal and former middle school teacher, oftentimes when teachers have been received PD about resilience and ACEs and those things, it really changes how we interact with children.
Mhm.
And it makes you think, why is the student acting this way and what can we do to address it? Because lots of times teachers will come to me and say, something's wrong with Johnny. You know, he was not in a really good mood this morning. Might need to have the counselor check with him today. But you become more cognizant of those things after having this kind of learning about ACEs and these things, because our normal training, unless it's changed since I went to school, doesn't do a lot with that.
Yeah. So I'm almost thinking like maybe then the intervention becomes like, you know, like, how do we make this person feel better? Or like, we should check in on that person, not, you know, how do we punish them? Or make sure that doesn't happen again, you know, like it's a totally different kind of thought process. How do we make sure they're okay? Maybe like the action is like, yeah, like you said, refer to the guidance counselor or something.
Well, and I know too, even at our program, I mean, we're a very small program, but there are students here that just have a different depth of relationship with different staff.
Yes.
And so, and we know that. So, you know, I've literally told kids, like, I'm here for you if you want to talk to me, but, you know, if not, like, talk to somebody, you know, just really encourage them to feel free to talk to anyone that's on staff here. And they do, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so like, I'll write that, like, encourage them to talk to a member of staff they're close to. Sorry, someone's at my door. Give me 2 seconds. But yeah, like encouraging them to talk to a member of staff that they're close to, so that they, and it feels like that might even be like, quote unquote, the like intervention or like the response, as opposed to, you know, like that wasn't supposed to happen, then what do we do? So I'll make this understanding context. Yeah, like anything about like kind of what they're thinking at both of these stages. So in the understanding context, I've put in like, it's not me, there's a lot going on here. And then the intervention, like the motivating thought is like, how do I make sure this person is okay?
Yeah, it could also be, I have no idea what's going on here.
Yeah, maybe that's like slightly more confused version. I have no idea what else is going on here. Yeah. I'm asking you to unmute, Miss Bud. I see you speaking.
I'm sorry.
No worries.
You all were saying the same thing I was saying, so you.
But yeah, exactly. So sometimes it's not, are there like actions that they might take to kind of understand what else is going on?
Usually, as has been spoken, certain people in the building have rapport with that particular student. So we'll get that student to that person and kind of talk and see what's going on. And normally, we can help them to de-escalate, and the children start to realize, as has been spoken, that they have people they can trust and talk to, and they find that very comforting. And oftentimes it doesn't come to me because we can handle the issue and not punish the child for dealing with the issues where they know how. Yeah,
totally. So yeah, think about who on staff they have the relationship with. It's not me, there's a lot going on here, I have no idea, or I have no idea what else is going on here, but they might be thinking like, who can this person talk to, or like who can I put them in touch with? How are they feeling at this stage when they're like understanding the context, they're thinking about what else could be going on?
Is there a quizzical or confused?
I'm
Maybe
like,
the one with like the face that's like the big grin, but not really. I don't
it's like they're like face. Let's see. No, that's not an emoji. Where are my emojis? I mean, it's fine. I'm just gonna put in confused. Confused. And maybe it's like almost like analytical, right? Like
yeah, processing. There is one that's like they look like they're thinking.
I know exactly what you mean. I just like cannot find
It's
the
one of my
emoji.
favorite ones too.
I know, me too. I use it in my texts all the time. Oh.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can find, aha, emojis. Yes. We'll do a thinking. This one?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah.
Yes. All right. We have the right emoji. That's the key. All right. So they're confused, they're analytical, they're processing. I feel like I have a pain point that could be a thing here, which is just like, how do you make that calculation like so quickly in the moment when you're feeling kind of emotionally, maybe not triggered is the wrong word, but emotionally like high yourself?
Yeah. I mean, my experience is sometimes I don't, sometimes like I feel myself get really frustrated, but I know that I can't act out on that. And so for me, sometimes it's like emotion and then I have to pull it back and think about it.
Mm.
I think that's a good idea. I mean, that's good because I know in my role, there are times that I have to walk away from things and just give it time. So I
Yeah.
can process and the person can process, and then we can get back together when cooler heads can prevail and actually come up with a solution.
Yeah.
But that's not for adults. Education from traditional, it's not been that way. You just handle it. But it's better to take a moment, breathe, and think logically, and come back online.
Yeah. So yeah, taking a break, removing from the situation sounds like an opportunity. It also sounds like potentially like an action they might take at this stage is like deciding to take a minute. Awesome. And I guess like another pain point at this stage is just like genuinely not knowing the context. Not knowing the context or not having a rapport even.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that.
Because so much of this, it sounds like, is like based on a personal connection. And I can just imagine, I don't know if you're a new teacher or something, that would make life a lot harder because you don't have any of those connections or context about who those students might have a connection with.
Yeah. And one of the interviews, well, it wasn't one of the interviews I did, she was an administrator and she mentioned that there was an administrator that is now teaching children of students that he had already had, so his context goes back generations.
Yeah.
But that he's able to say, let me tell you what the situation is like. And he has these just super long-standing relationships that enable him to just really know and really know the kids and relate to them and have an influence on them because of that.
Yeah, so maybe like for me, like one of the opportunities then is just like really low staff turnover. And people that like know the context, even like generations of students.
Yeah.
And then like the pain point conversely might be at that stage, like, and it's more of a systemic one than for the teacher particularly, but it's just like, if there's higher staff turnover, or like a stressful work environment, then you lose a lot of that knowledge.
Yeah. And this is just something that crossed my mind. I know that there are some schools where the teachers basically, they call it like travel with the students, so they start with them in 9th grade and then they go up to 10th grade and 11th grade and 12th grade. And I know with the program that we're at, I'm in a very different situation. I could literally have the same kid for 6 years, and so or 7 years. And I see that a lot of the relationships that I have with the students, I've had them for 4 years now, the same kid. Not all teachers get that opportunity to build deeper relationships over time. So it makes me kind of wonder, are we doing the way that we kind of shuffle our students around, or is that doing them justice? I don't know.
Yeah, so maybe like the traditional like structure of getting a new teacher every year just like doesn't really fit this audience. Even having different teachers for every class. Awesome. Such rich conversations. I love it. Okay. Then going to the actual intervention. So thinking about like, how do we make sure they're okay? Encouraging them to talk to a member of staff they're close to. What are other ways that you might actually respond? Oh no, we have 1 minute. But
it's also helpful to let them know what is happening, so they know what's going on. That makes a huge difference.
Yeah, with the student or with the other staff?
With the staff, but also with the students. Even in the situation, we're going to go over here, we're going to do this. That kind of puts them at ease and helps them to be able to calm down.
Yeah, and let them know ahead of time they are not in trouble, like, so that there's no fear going into it, like up front, you are not in trouble. And also, I think a big thing is just having them know we care about you and stating that very plainly.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, awesome. I apologize for cutting this short. You understand though that like basically based on your interviews, like the number of times you brought up, I heard this, that is exactly what like the whole purpose of this journey mapping is. You're kind of zooming in on individual journeys that you care about and using all of this like knowledge that you've now soaked up through your interviews and kind of like analyzing it and putting it out in this form. And over time, you'll see where the gaps are in your knowledge, but also where you're seeing like those opportunities and pain points that you didn't see before, that your ideas might end up coming from. So I hope that was a helpful lesson in how to do a journey map. I will share this with you afterwards so you have this to work off of. And yes, I really hope you all use this as part of your mix, and I'll be there to support you if you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Thank you.